Welcome back. I am now reading chapter 29. If you just stumbled upon this video and you don't know what this is, I'm reading from my memoir, Rebirth, and I've been reading chapter by chapter, so I strongly encourage you to go back to the beginning so that you know exactly what it is we're reading in sequence. If you like what I'm reading, please like and share. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. I'm reading chapter 29 now, entitled Between Heaven and Earth. I wanted Mauro to talk to his brother to validate the rift Diego had caused after Evelyn's birth. The tension felt like a wound that refused to close, festering beneath the surface. But Mauro wouldn't speak to him. I don't know what to say, he muttered. Maybe your expectations are too high. My body tensed, my breath catching. Or maybe, I said softly, other people's expectations are too low. Each word steadied my voice, a quiet strength rising from somewhere deep within me. Mauro only shook his head, his silence as loud as a slammed door. I could hear his unspoken plea. Why do you always have to rock the boat? His discomfort filled the space between us, thick and suffocating. He didn't like confrontations or the mess that came with speaking truths aloud. Instead, he waited, hoping the world would settle neatly as he stood still long enough. His eyes seemed to plead, can't you just let things be? I couldn't. I believed in communication and closure, so I wrote Diego a letter, pouring my heart into it. My sense of betrayal, my confusion, the judgment, the hurt, and my hope for healing. I filled 4-line pages, front and back, then folded them neatly into a square to hold the pages together. When Mauro finally arranged a meeting, I was ready, but I didn't give him the note right away. I wanted to give him a chance to speak first. His demeanor caught me off guard. He trembled. His eyes were glassy. He looked as if he was about to shatter. What's wrong? I asked, my defenses breaking down. It was like a battlefield, he said, his voice quivering. The house was cold. I didn't feel welcome, and my mother was banished to the basement where she prayed the whole time. His words sent a tremor through me. I didn't know he or his mom felt unwelcome. A pang of guilt twisted inside me, quickly chased by a sharp sting of betrayal. Then you tried to kick my brother out. His voice hardened. All this time, I thought Diego understood. I thought he saw me, but his empathy had been a mask. He hadn't been there for me. He had only been thinking about himself. I was in labor, I said, my voice raw, the words sticking in my throat. What was I supposed to do? He shrugged, his gaze empty, his story tumbled out. An abusive relationship had left him weary and unable to trust, and he couldn't forgive me. Diego, I'm your sister, I pleaded, my voice breaking. I needed him to see me, to understand that my actions hadn't been born of malice, but of desperation and survival. You're an in-law, he interrupted, his eyes hardening, his voice flat, another door slamming shut. The ground beneath me seemed to shift as my body tightened. My breath became shallow, the air too thick to draw in. Heat rose through my chest, molten and volatile. My inner warrior pushed to the surface. I opened my mouth, but my words came out jumbled. My hand slipped into my pocket, fingers brushing against the letter I had written him, pouring my heart out with all the things I couldn't say aloud. I pulled it out and held it toward him, my words garbled and difficult to pronounce. The room felt too small, the walls pressing in. My heart raced with the need to escape. Okay, I said, throwing my arms up in surrender. I stood up, my movements abrupt yet deliberate, and made my way upstairs. My resolve hardened with every stride, like steel cooling in the air. Mauro and Diego followed, their presence like long, dark, and unwelcome shadows. I packed Evelyn's things, cradled her in her carrier, and moved towards the door. MJ, Diego called, his voice softer now, regret tinged at the edges. I stopped, but didn't turn. No, I'm just an in-law. My voice was steady, my words sharpened by hurt. I won't stay where I'm disrespected. Say goodbye to your niece, because if you can't respect her mother, you're not likely to respect her either. Mauro started to say something, but I brushed past him. His words meant nothing against the roar in my ears, the pulsing in my heart, the promise I made to myself to never stay where I was not wanted. He left. We left. The door closed behind us with a thud. It felt final, and for a moment I allowed myself to believe it was. As night crept in, a fear of the darkness took hold. It was irrational, the kind of fear that washes over you after a horror movie, except I hadn't seen one, and I was terrified. Mauro, can you turn on the light in Evelyn's room? I asked. I couldn't bring myself to cross the threshold, too afraid of the shadows. Something was watching me. I moved through the house, closing blinds, shutting closet doors, sealing every possible entry point. I was trying to keep something out. Evil spirits, monsters, something dark and uninvited, I wasn't sure. A voice whispered from deep within, only what you allow can come in. They cannot break in. It felt ancient, a deep unspoken truth. As long as I kept the door shut, I would be safe. Was God training me? Was I being prepared for something? The next night, the fear had vanished, but it had left an imprint, a glimpse beyond the ordinary. I had nudged something profound, a connection to a world just beyond the veil. Was I tapping into a deeper truth, or was I coming undone? I wasn't sure. I was aware of how my behavior might appear. If only Mauro could see what I saw, feel what I felt. If only he could understand. He had his own theories. You were listening to worship music during labor, he said one night. Maybe the lyrics got into your head and brainwashed you. Steve Bell's music had comforted me during the birth. His music had always soothed my soul and given me hope. The words steadied me. Was he saying I couldn't trust my own thoughts? I'm not making this up, I told him. Some of what I'm experiencing is not anything I have read about, like how I started adding up numbers, finding meaning in the sum of their digits. That just came to me. It felt like a download from somewhere beyond. I think you're just making things up to fit my questions, he said, head hanging low. He didn't understand, but I wasn't entirely sure I did either. It felt like I was slipping into Evelyn's world, seeing through her eyes, feeling what she felt, experiencing life with her raw newness. My fears of the monster in the closet and the boogeyman outside the window had subsided, but I found her a nightlight just in case. What if I were being trained to expand my awareness beyond my current conditioning, to see the world through new eyes and feel new realms as she did, so I could blossom into the person I came here to be without the excessive baggage we all carry? How could worship music get into my head and become mixed up with past experiences and stories I'd heard, turning them into my current reality? Could things get cross-wired like that? It was frustrating. My experience felt surreal, beautiful, and alive, yet I felt alone, needing to defend my every word and action. And although I had read the Bible before, I had never felt equipped to discuss it, let alone defend my views against persistent Jehovah's Witnesses knocking at our door. Now, however, I possessed a deep, inexplicable understanding I could defend. Motherhood grounded me. I no longer felt lost or adrift, but the constant defending of my experience, my insights, my joy exhausted me. My struggle wasn't motherhood itself, but everyone's conviction that something was wrong with me. The world transformed into a tapestry of signs and symbols, breadcrumbs leading me home. I couldn't shake the feeling that the universe was communicating directly with me. Simple things felt profound, like shirts I ordered online, one labeled vintage, the other perfect. The vintage shirt was thin, worn, and stretched out, while the perfect one fit as if custom made. It wasn't a mere coincidence. Words carried weight. Everything was accurately labeled for those with eyes to see and ears to hear. Painkillers dulled pain, but where were the joy boosters? Why did the world offer an arsenal of misery, but so little prescription for happiness? I became obsessed with names, with words, with the hidden meanings behind the most ordinary things. My mind constantly performed computations. I had never studied numerology and knew little about it, yet I found myself adding up the digits of random numbers, dates, times, and house numbers. Then I noticed that when I multiplied two numbers and added the digits of the product, the result was the same as multiplying the sum of the original number's digits. I looked it up. It was an actual mathematical theorem, used as though true, but not yet proven. And I had discovered it without prior knowledge, and I could prove it. Was this insight or madness? I became lost in contemplation of this world and how we operate as if something were true, even if we have not yet proven it. I wanted to share the truth, the light flooding every corner of my mind. I wrote about everything, even the night I tried to end my life. My contribution to life had always seemed to circle back to pain, and I was so tired of feeling like an outsider, destined to stand where love and acceptance were just out of reach. And how now everything had shifted, the veil had lifted. I could see the truth, and I needed to find others who could see it too. If only we could unite, I thought, we could change the world. So I sent another email to everyone on my list of friends, family, my boss, and coworkers. I thought I was sharing a revelation, but the responses were harsh. Mauro listened to the ones who thought I needed to be medicated. He sat on the edge of the bed, tears streaming down his face. I don't know what to think anymore, but I think they might be right, he said, his voice thin as he began to sob. I sat beside him, my pulse steady, my mind clear. If you think I need medication, fine, medicate me. I won't fight you, but who would I be then? His shoulders slumped. I don't want to medicate you. Relief washed over me. I'm happy, Mauro. I've never been happier. Can't you see it? Why can't you see it? Why wouldn't you want to join me instead of bringing me down? Fine. He couldn't answer. Wasn't that the theme of C.S. Lewis's The Great Divorce? The idea of being happier in hell with those we love than in heaven without them? But why settle for that? Why not choose paradise together instead? But no matter what I said, the distance between us grew. I was floating in a realm of possibility, unable to pull him up with me. He was earthbound, held by gravity, by reason, by fear. I couldn't step down. I was too high up, too free. Why couldn't anyone see? I was a poet, calling Evelyn all sorts of cute, sweet, silly nicknames. Pumpkin, love bug, snugglebean, whatever came to mind. Then I called her Lucy. A shiver ran through me. Lucy, short for Lucifer. I recoiled, my mind racing. Why had I said that? What did it mean? What had I done? A wave of fear washed over me. I couldn't tell if it was a sign or if I was just overthinking. Was I still hearing the truth, or was my mind starting to unravel? I couldn't be certain. One evening, as I sat up in bed, Evelyn sleeping soundly beside me, a presence filled the room. I turned and saw my paternal grandfather, whom I called my paternal grandmother, whom I called memoir. It's a French Canadian term for grandmother. Her face seemed to peek out from between parted clouds, soft and luminous. What are you doing here? I asked, surprised and elated to see her. I wanted to meet Evelyn, she said. Of course. My heart swelled with joy at this welcome intrusion, and most of all, at an opportunity I had longed for so long. Is Papa with you? Yes, she nodded, then turned her head to the right, as if on cue. His face appeared through the mist, his gentle smile deepening my own. There's something I've been wanting to ask you, I said, my voice a whisper. He waited, his expression as patient and kind as I remembered. When I was 19, I was at your house for Christmas, the usual big family gathering. I was hanging out downstairs with the other grandchildren when you came to tell me something. I know it was important, but I've forgotten what you said. His smile remained steady, and the room seemed to dissolve into that memory. I could hear the Christmas music on the radio and see the dimly lit basement where my cousins and I had gathered. What might seem like an unremarkable moment was monumental to me. My grandfather could barely walk. Most of my childhood memories of him were at the end of the large, dark oak kitchen table he built himself, a table big enough for his family of 16. When my father visited, they would play cribbage together at the end of that table. I only saw him standing once, holding a basket of freshly picked cucumbers from his garden. Otherwise, he was seated, anchored to that one spot. But that night, he had made his way down the long hallway, through the side split addition he built with his own hands. I remembered the tremor in his hand as he shifted his weight over his cane, and the careful way he descended the stairs. When he sat next to me on the bench, his eyes met mine, and he began to speak, but the words were lost. Over the years, I could recall the scene in perfect detail, the cool air of the basement, the soft hum of laughter around us, but his voice remained silent in my memory. I only knew his message mattered. I remembered the tears streaming down my face, the way my cousin wrapped his arms around me, the puzzled look on my stepsister's face as she asked what had upset me so much. But the message was gone. And now, with his spirit before me, I had the chance to ask. He spoke in the same clear, gentle tone. I didn't think anything good would come of you, but I wanted you to know that I was wrong, and I'm proud of the young woman you have become. Tears streamed down my cheeks all over again. His words reached a place in me that had been waiting, aching to hear them again. My grandfather was a devout Catholic. I was born out of wedlock to a teenage mother, and his son, my father, was still married when he met my mother. His judgment came from a place of fear and tradition, but I saw beneath the judgment to something rarer and far more precious. The courage to admit he had been wrong. It wasn't just an apology. It was a recognition of the journey I had taken, of the person I had become despite the odds he once believed were stacked against me. His words were a key, unlocking a door deep inside me. I felt their truth resonate in my bones. I was not bound by my past or my lineage. I had moved beyond it all. I had broken the chain. What had impressed? What had impressed on his heart to walk down What had impressed on his heart to walk down that long hallway, take each careful step down those stairs, just to tell me this. I could only imagine. I would never have known of his judgment against me, yet I knew his confession was a blessing, a secret truth I needed to receive. And even now, all these years later, I still found myself turning his words over in my mind, like a stone smoothed by the river of time. I wasn't sure I had fully grasped the weight of his message, but I knew it mattered. It mattered more than anything. People can understand what I was experiencing, and maybe I didn't either, but I wasn't falling. My senses were heightened. I was waking up, or at least I hoped I was. I only knew how I felt, more alive than I had ever felt. And that is the reading of chapter 29 of my memoir, Rebirth. There's a lot of emotion here. Thank you for being here, for listening along. I'd love to hear from you. Send me your questions, leave comments below, like, share, so that this reaches the people who are meant to hear this story. I know it matters. There's other people who need to hear this. And thank you again for being here. And I look forward to seeing you in the next